Hi, I'm Neil Snyder. Thanks for joining me for another Snyder Talk video commentary. Today is January 1, 2011, and I want to read today's Snyder Talk editorial to you. It's based on an article or an op-ed piece that appeared in yesterday's New York Times. The title of my editorial is, "Our Appetites Have Become Our Gods." In yesterday's New York Times, there was an op-ed piece by Linda Greenhouse titled "Abortion Takes Flight." In it, she laments a recent court decision in Europe that allows Ireland to restrict abortions, and she fears that similar laws might take effect in the U.S. soon as more states choose to join the anti-abortion bandwagon, as she puts it. Greenhouse points to Wyoming, the Dakotas, and the Deep South as places that are similar to Ireland in their refusal to accept abortion on demand. She doesn't call them backward, but she implies it strongly. At the end of her article, Greenhouse cites some frightening facts that tell us a lot about what life in the U.S. has become. Abortion remains one of the most common of all medical procedures in the U.S. In the United States, nearly a quarter of all pregnancies end in abortion. In the U.S., nearly half of all pregnancies are unintended. 40% of the unintended pregnancies in the U.S. are terminated. 1 out of every 3 American women will have an abortion by the age of 45. There are several other facts that Greenhouse could have presented but didn't. For instance, globally, more than 42 million abortions are performed each year. In the U.S., more than 1.2 million abortions are performed each year. More than 50 million abortions have been performed in the U.S. since Roe v. Wade in 1973. Without a doubt, Linda Greenhouse is pro-abortion to the hilt. She's probably a member in good standing of PETA, too. I'm opposed to cruelty to animals, but it never ceases to amaze me that so many people who can't stand to see animals suffer don't think twice about chopping an innocent unborn child into tiny pieces and sucking it out of the womb. That's called a D&C abortion. Or stabbing a child in the base of the skull, inserting a tube, and using a vacuum pump to suck its brains out while only the head remains in the birth canal. That's called a partial birth abortion. I used to talk about abortion with my leadership classes at the University of Virginia to illustrate how callous our society has become. When I brought up partial birth abortions, most of the woman's right to choose supporters told me that they didn't have a problem with the procedure. When I asked them if they understood what a partial birth abortion is, few of them knew anything about it except the name. After I described the procedure in detail, they routinely said, "I don't believe that." Their assignment for the next class was to look up partial birth abortion and be prepared to explain it to me. To say the least, the next class was very interesting. Even the most die-hard right-to-choose women in my classes were repulsed by partial birth abortions, and most of them winced at the D&C procedure as well. I think their sudden change in attitude reveals that they are human. Once they understood the facts, they realized that abortion on demand is inhuman. I think abortion on demand is demonic, and it comes from the pits of hell. As a society, we have embraced abortion on demand and a woman's right to choose as though they were nothing more than campaign slogans. But those causes actually tell us how deeply mired in the pit we are. I always ended my talk on abortion with my students by asking them this question: how is abortion on demand different from the ancient practice of sacrificing live children to the gods? In truth, there's very little difference. Our appetites have become our gods in more ways than one. As a society, we eat too much. That's an undeniable fact. But we also worship at the altar of excess when we put irresponsible sexual behavior ahead of the lives of innocent unborn children. That, too, is an irrefutable fact. At least the ancients thought they were appeasing some god by sacrificing their children. The best argument we've come up with for abortion on demand is that we don't want to impose childbearing responsibilities and child-rearing responsibilities on young women. I would hate to present those arguments to Yahweh. I know that this issue is controversial. I also know that we need to talk about it, because probably more than any other issue out there, this one defines us as a society. It shows how little we care for our most innocent, the most innocent among us, children. Not just children, but children who are still in the womb. If you haven't looked at the partial birth abortion procedure in detail, I wish you would. If you did, you're going to have to conclude, or if you do, you'll have to conclude that it's murder. There's no other way to describe it. It is murder, and we condone it. Our laws condone it. I hope you're reading Snyder Talk every day. It's updated daily with important news items from around the world, but it focuses on Israel. It includes a Snyder Talk editorial and Snyder Talk video commentaries. I also hope you'll take a look at hisnameIsYahweh.org. That website is being viewed widely throughout the world right now, and I'm very thankful for that. But the message that we have to send to the world, the message the world needs to hear, is that we have a God. His name is Yahweh. And Yahweh has given us instructions, certain specific instructions. And one of the things that we're supposed to do is tell the world who He is by name. And people, Yahweh expects more from us than that. He expects us to look at what's going on around us, judge what we see, and hold people accountable for actions that are totally wrong. Abortion on demand without restraint is wrong. It's one of those things we've got to put an end to. Thank you for joining me for another Snyder Talk video commentary, and I hope you'll join me again soon.